The first. Well, a great concept in theory, but then it starts to decline. So we had a really strong opening with the first third. The first 7 episodes are pretty strong, and the promise is really there with the first being able to conjure people back, being able to represent people who are dead, apparently access memories and really get at the weak points of these various protagonists that we have. And the Spike story, for the most part, is really fleshed out really well. But that's about it. Because while the Willow and Anya episodes early on were really strong, especially Anya, that was really surprising. They gave her a lot of attention. When they tried to do that again with The Killer Inside Me, as well as Xander's episode, First Date, things just fall off dramatically. It just doesn't have the power it should of being basically this is our final time with the group, and it doesn't come together. There are still a lot of great highlights, such as finishing up the initiative and wrapping up that story, right? Spike and his chip, finally getting rid of that thing, and that was long overdue. I think we all knew it was going to happen eventually. I mean, season 6 basically promised the chip would go away, but it's good that they finally resolved the chip issue. But then when it comes to the main plot, it's just really a lot of puzzles, and no pun intended, there's a lot of potential, but it doesn't seem to be well structured or well thought out. So when the Turrican show up and they're the agent of the first, it seems like we're finally going to get something really juicy, really powerful, and really dramatic. And it does for a while, and there's a good trilogy of episodes. But then when you go back and look at them, you're like still puzzled. Well, wait, why is the Turrican so powerful now? But later on, it becomes much, much weaker. And does the first need to sacrifice these people to get the Turrican? Because Turrican just appear out of nowhere. So was the Turrican always there? Were there some Turrican in Sunnydale? Was the agent just messing around? Is that an unreliable narration? And so there's just a lot of questions that accumulate about what exactly the first wants as opposed to what it says it wants. It says it wants to destroy everything. It says it wants to take over, but then it just takes a break. It just says like, okay, I was on the attack, but now I'm gonna go back. Some of that is explained with the new characters like Robin and the way he's manipulated to helping by bringing up the backstory of Spike and how he killed one of the Slayers. Okay, that's reasonable. That makes sense. But then again, the characterization is just weak with the new Slayers. I don't agree with the consensus that Kennedy's like this god awful character or she's just annoying and there's nothing more to her. I do appreciate what they tried to do with her and Willow, and sort of like they were really tiptoeing around the lesbian issue beforehand, and now they're just going to go full throttle. Like, yes, they're lesbians, and yes, they enjoy having sex, and yes, they're going to be kissing in public. Okay, in theory, this all makes sense, and this is a good dramatic turn. But we're just not given enough backstory with these new characters, so it's sort of like it's just very sketchy. With Kennedy, we just get she's rich and she knows how to use the crossbow. That's about it. And she looks good, and the actress I think actually does deliver her lines quite well. But there's no consistency that the characters. They either are with Buffy all the way and then they're against her all the way. And then Buffy's plans are just so bizarre sometimes that, yeah, of course, anyone would question why she should be in charge. In fact, why is she in charge? Technically, Willow's the most powerful one. So they could have done some interesting, dramatic, ironic things by having Willow be in charge of the group and she's leading the potentials. But instead, it's like, no, we're just going to do the plain old narrative and say, yeah, it's Buffy's story. It's about her being the hero. We're going to put her down a little bit and then she's going to rise up. But why she's rising up, or even why she fell down, is kind of like it's very weak because she knows the first is trying to manipulate her mentally. So why would the first coming to her affect her at all? It's there's a lot of things that just aren't adding up in terms of the plot. But again, it's not all bad. There are some strong episodes, especially when Faith comes back in and when Caleb is introduced, he brings a lot of energy. So Nathan really does a lot to salvage the final third of the season, but he can't do this alone. And Faith, while she starts off really strong and her character moments are really, really well done and they're really funny and they seem very appropriate, she also doesn't start to make sense after a while. She's sort of like, she's a little too passive from what we know before. And her being very sort of shy about taking charge and taking over from Buffy seems strange. We've seen her on Angel. She seemed to lead a group just fine. Was that because of a necessity issue? Because she normally doesn't want to lead, but because maybe she owed Angel or she has a special love relationship with Angel, she felt that time it was okay to be a leader. There's just a lot of questions accumulating. And Willow was an Angel too, and that actually happens during this season, but the events don't seem to carry over because in this season, she's very shy about using magic, but she unleashed a huge amount of magic on the Angel episode. So this isn't a problem, necessarily a contradiction between the Buffyverse and Angelverse, but that's the character's emotional baggage doesn't really make sense in terms of what we think their character conflict should be. It seems like she's still mourning Tara, but they finish off that story, so why is she still hesitant couple of episodes later. So it just seems that the Xander episode should have been put in much, much earlier, but to put it in the middle of the season while the first is still a threat doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So maybe they could have just flipped the episodes in the way they were done. At the end of the day, there is just a lot of laziness with the scripts, and they just seem to just put stuff in front of us, and we're supposed to be like, yeah, it's great. It's great special effects, great costumes. It's really great to see the old characters and the new characters, but yeah, they're really thriving on nostalgia and hoping that's going to be enough to salvage the final third. And it's sort of like, no, there's still a lot of issues and problems you don't really address. And when they do address it, it's just bringing in a bunch of magical items and like, okay, problem solved. And it's sort of like, well, no, that just creates new problems. Like, where did they come from? Who gave them? How were they made? Just a lot of questions. And yes, if you're a Buffy addict and an Angel addict, some of them will be answered, like with Wolfram and Hart and the amulet, but others are never really addressed. They're just like, hey, they're just there. And I just don't think that's a satisfying end to Buffy because we just expect a lot more. And it's kind of disappointing they just aren't able to pull everything together for the final stretch. But those final episodes, I do think they're adequate enough, and they do provide at least some dramatic closure to a lot of the stories they've had for a couple of seasons. So it does end adequately, and we're going to analyze that because there was a lot there, and I did enjoy a lot of the moments, but the show is past its prime. It just isn't able to deliver the consistency it used to have in its earlier or middle seasons. I'm not a big fan of seasons 1 to 2, but I'd have to agree that from seasons 2 to 3, they did have a stronger consistency, whereas with 6 and 7, it's almost the complete opposite. There's some great episodes here and there, but mainly the average episode is okay to slightly better than okay, but that's about it, and that's not what you want to say about Buffy. So it's a little disappointing going from the first third to the second third. This has been a non-spoiler review of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 7, Part 2. We're going to examine the final episode soon enough, and hopefully they can at least give us some satisfying conclusion to this very, very inconsistent season. Thanks for listening.